So, why is depression not depression but a spiritual awakening? Hi, I'm Amber. Welcome to my channel, Good Stuff. All right, so let's get right into it. What am I talking about? Why is depression not depression but a spiritual awakening? And does that sound crazy to you? I hope not, because this is actually a really cool concept. Have you watched my first two videos in this three-part series on depression? If you have, then thank you, and if not, then get to it. The links to parts 1 and 2 are below. This is video number 3. I have notes here. I'm going to try not to be too tied to them, but they're there to help me remember everything I want to say. This story, number 3, is going to be the story of the realization of my awakening. I'll explain how I became aware of my spiritual journey, how I became aware of self, and I'll explain how I finally connected to and embrace the concept that we are not our thoughts. Please also remember that nothing that I say here in this video or any of my videos, but especially these on depression, is a substitute for medical or professional advice. Please always follow your intuition. I'm making these videos because I feel guided to do so, and as I've said before, I think it's very important that we just keep talking about this subject and that we keep talking and not thinking so much, but just having fun in the process. So what actually happened that made me feel that the depression that I sometimes experience throughout my life wasn't depression, but was actually a sign that my soul was nudging me to awaken? I met a special I met a special person last summer. That's 2018, because this summer, I can't believe it, is almost over. So that was the summer of 2018, and this person has been and continues to be a catalyst to my expansion and growth. Some people in the spiritual community refer to this type of connection as twin flame. If you haven't heard of this before, it's totally okay. That's not really super important. It's really just that you think of it as an energetic connection, because we all know what that feels like. And I may use the words twin flame and energetic connection interchangeably. Like I said, the label isn't actually important. I made a video about why I like the label. I'll link that below. But even after watching it, you won't necessarily know exactly, know exactly how I feel about it personally, because the word twin flame can mean different things to different people, and there's a broad list of definitions, so I don't adhere to all of them. There's things that I feel fit for me and things that absolutely don't resonate with me. So again, it's a term, and take it or leave it, but I just kind of wanted you to know what it is and why I'm going to sometimes refer to it in this video. So it's commonly thought one of the characteristics in meeting a twin flame connection is that you are then on a fast track to spiritual growth. So that is something I've definitely identified with, if you will, in this experience. One person comes to mind in particular whose videos I've watched. It's a man named Ramy, and I'm going to post a link to his channel that he shares with his partner. And he talks about that, how he became aware of his own awakening in the 70s, but it wasn't until almost 30 years later, when he met this energetic connection, that he said he grew more in a year and a half than he felt he had grown in the last 30 years. So it's just another example to show how people feel when they meet this energetic connection. I'm going to say that a lot, just to illustrate why it just feels like it's just this fast track to growth. And that's what I'm here to hopefully help explain without rambling. Here, sticking up without rambling too much. So I agree with Ramy. That has been my experience. It's been extremely fast growth, like nothing else I've ever experienced. And it's been amazing. I look at it now, even though I didn't necessarily, well, I think I did have an inkling in the beginning that it was a gift. But now I know, I really feel the gratitude, and I know it's a gift. But your awakening in general is a gift, so it doesn't matter if you've have we all have some sort of catalyst, really, but whatever your catalyst is, the point is your awakening. That's the gift. Something else I thought of when I was writing the outline is Dr. Christiane Northrup talks about something that happens to people around the age of 42. So it might happen, the age may vary, but it was just kind of an interesting thing. It's something we might have normally referred to as having a midlife crisis. But I'm going to try to find an article where she talks about this too, because there just comes a point in our life, I don't think it really matters how old we are, where we just know that there's more, that we're reaching for something else. And this is what I'm trying to show with the depression, that all along, I feel like even in the past when I was younger, that the symptoms I was having of depression were really just nudging me to that, to what is my purpose and what else is there. That's really the existential questions that we're asking ourselves at different points in our life. And that's really why depression can be a sign of awakening. I'm going to get more into it. So, like I said, everybody's twin flame experience is unique. The whole thing is unique. Everybody's spiritual awakening can be unique. We might share some similar things that we all experience, but we all will have our own journey too. And after I met this person, though, I had no idea what was happening. I didn't know what it was. I speak about that too in that video about the labeling, the one I'm going to put link below. So I kind of had to piece together what was happening like a detective. What I do know for sure is that this experience, one of the biggest lessons is in this experience is that it's teaching me to fully and once and for all trust my intuition. And again, it's also what's brought me to the discovery that my depression has been a sign of awakening. All right, so for this part, I'm sorry, I'm going to just really look at my notes because I love how I condensed this here. I want to get it out exactly as I wrote it. So I'm not saying that depression isn't depression. I'm not saying that sometimes it's not a result of a chemical or a hormonal imbalance at times, but I am saying that when we are depressed, we are consumed by our thoughts and completely identified with the story in our head. We feel bad because who we really are, our soul or our essence, doesn't agree with the story that we're telling. It's not in agreement with those negative thoughts that we're having. Our soul is asking us to join them over here in bliss, contentment, and connection. Our soul feels good, and when we don't, we're not a match to it. You find this in Law of Attraction teachings. So depression can be a wake-up call. It's nudging us to make these changes, to find satisfaction in the now. But when we stay with the old story and we just run with it and we repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, we suffer with what we often call depression. And I'm not saying any of these things to make light of the topic. I actually want to bring more light to the topic. I'm not here to tell you how you feel about your own body or your own mind. We're all unique. I've said it a lot, but we're all unique. We all have our own journey. I still have days where I feel that I'm being consumed by my thoughts, but guess what? There's power there too, because I now know that I'm the observer of those thoughts. So if I'm the observer, then I can't really be consumed. It means I'm the awareness. I'm aware that they're happening. They don't have control of me anymore. And guess what? You can experience this too. You are the awareness. You are awareness. You're awakening. My soul tried to get my attention at age 15 and in 2014. These are the two stories I tell you in parts 1 and parts 2. But this time, this last summer of 2018, my soul made sure I wasn't going to ignore it. It made sure it got my full attention. I couldn't pass it off. I couldn't just do a little bit of work and then scoot it back under the rug. It's here to fully get my attention, and that's why it's a fast track to growth. So my soul got my attention, and this person, this connection was sure to get my attention as well, so that I could not get off track again and fall down that rabbit hole of depression, so that I knew that I was awakening. And whether this person realizes it or not, they've had a profound and lasting effect on me. And I think that's sometimes just how it is in life. We meet people every day. Sometimes it's so briefly. It can be a homeless person that we're giving some money to. It can be somebody we bump into in a grocery store and just have a very I don't want to say casual conversation, but I've heard some pretty profound things in the grocery store that people have said before. So we never know how even a complete stranger can affect our life and cause us to move in a new direction. So that's what you can take a look at. It doesn't have to be a specific type of energetic connection that really jolts you and moves you into a new space. It could just be anything. Just really be aware and follow your intuition. That's when you'll start noticing these things more and more. So anyone can be a catalyst to change. But in my experience, I know that especially when it's the specific type of energetic connection, when these two souls meet, it can be a severe catalyst for growth. Things change rapidly, intensely, sometimes painfully, but beautifully. And how will you know this is happening? Well, I don't think you'll have a doubt in your mind. Well, I should say you won't have a doubt in your heart, because your mind is actually going to continue to question things, and that's normal. Our brains, they can't fully always understand some of these things that are happening, and that again is where we are really learning to trust our intuition and follow that and know in our knower what is true. So it's the intuitive mind that you're tuning into. It's your soul that you're listening to for wisdom. In a little bit, I'm going to be talking about some of the specific things that I've experienced that I know put me on this fast track to growth. Things that made me aware that I am awakening. And I know I've mentioned this too, but I think that we're all awakening from the time of birth. It's just the awareness that we're awakening. And sometimes we might label it as something else, like depression. But our souls are really always trying to get our attention. And all we have to do is listen and allow and receive. Now, when I met this person last summer, I was triggered immediately. Nothing awful happened. And in fact, it was quite the opposite. I couldn't wait to get to know her. We texted. I would feel a little bit heavy. I would feel a little bit of an intensity. But it wasn't anything negative. Everything we were sharing was just fun and exciting. But I was being triggered. I think I mentioned that in that video as well, the triggering. So two things were happening at once, and they seemed to be in contradiction of each other. So there was a blossoming friendship, amazing feelings, excitement, things that I now know were a connection to myself, that were showing me a connection to myself and to source energy. And then at the same time, there was the triggering and the mirroring. At times I felt like I was turning inside out. I felt like I was 15 again. Have you watched part 1 of this series? Because at 15, you'll recall there were some weeks there where I didn't feel like I wanted to be alone. I wanted something to block out the noise in my head, and I developed OCD. So it was no ordinary encounter that I had last summer. I knew that. I knew it was different from the get-go, but it wasn't until a little bit later that I started kind of piecing things together like a detective, trying to figure out, what is this? What is going on? What is happening? And I mentioned the triggering, but I also said the word mirroring. And what this means to me is that this person acted as a mirror, and that looking at them reflected to me parts of myself that I had been trying to run away from for years. It's not that some of these things hadn't come up in my life before. Lots of things or people, situations can trigger us. But again, this is something that is just like a brick to your forehead. You can't miss it. And the mirroring feels so intense that you literally feel how you have tried to not deal with some of these things and not release them, because it's not like you have to deal with them. It's really, they just want to be released. They want permission to be there and then just be released. And so these things came up in a way, like I said, that I couldn't have imagined. I have heard from a couple of people that they have likened this twin flame experience to a near-death experience. I'm not trying to make light of the near-death experience. I can't speak to that. But I can say that when I've heard that mentioned, that I have felt very validated, because I think that they use that as a comparison just to show, again, that fast track to growth and change that happens in the person. after having a near-death experience or meeting an energetic connection, because both of these experiences shake up the person completely and change their life. And ultimately, it's change for the better. These experiences and awakening in general are here to help raise our vibration. They're help to teach us what unconditional love really is, and then they're there to inspire us to help other people. So when having this type of experience, when you meet this mirror and you see them reflecting back to you these things, it's like nothing that you've ever experienced before. And again, I think that's why it can be likened to the near-death experience, because both are unique and different because of the changes that occur. The skeptics turn to believers, people find faith. And of course, I've been wearing this shirt for all 3 of these videos on depression, and of course it's been for a reason. I love to wear this shirt because I love this shirt. I got it at a George Michael concert in 2008. So I think when I say I love it, it's because I know that when people see this word, it can trigger you. Talk about triggering. I think people can be triggered by this word. And so I kind of love it because I know what it means to me for the song Faith and George and Faith too. But I love that people might look at it and have a totally different understanding of what it is, and that's great because that's the whole point of it, I think. And I hope that song gets in your head now too. As I was saying, people who have had these experiences, this actually applies to anyone, you know, not just twin flame or near death, but anyone you're having a spiritual awakening, this applies to you. If you formerly were closed off or you were cynical, your heart wasn't open, now it is. Meeting this person was like a beam me up Scotty transportation to self. It was an instant placement from where I was to the present moment. I started listening to Eckhart Tolle a lot, and at almost 40 years old at that time, it was a little bit unnerving to feel like an emotional 15-year-old. It's embarrassing. It's not something I wanted to share at that time. It was also part of how I was trying to keep myself closed off even from this person, because it's embarrassing. Nobody wants to say, hey, I'm being triggered and I feel like I'm 15 right now. I don't want to be alone. So I tried to block even more, but I couldn't. And so that's why I said it was continually, nope, 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 you're not going to block. You're not going to close. You have to face this. And I had to, because it was like I was looking in the mirror and I could not. It didn't matter what I did. Old tactics that we use our whole life to protect and guard ourselves didn't work in this experience. It didn't work. So you can see I'm getting a little bit emotional when I talk about it, because it is. It's not because I'm sad. It's because it's such a powerful, powerful thing to experience when you've tried to run away from emotions and then you finally face them and you release them. It's very exciting. So I also liken this to post-traumatic stress disorder. And again, I'm not making light of people who have post-traumatic stress disorder at all. I'm simply using this as a way to illustrate what can happen to us emotionally sometimes. It doesn't matter. We're not comparing how traumatic one event is to another, but our mind can think something is so traumatic. So for me, I was being triggered and something had imprinted on me as a child, as a teenager, and whatever was being triggered in me after meeting this energetic connection, just that awoke within me. And so that's what happens in PTSD. Something can just spark that off, and it's like the person is right there back in the situation, and it's just that's how the brain can work. It just stores things for us, and then it's like we can be reliving them. So that is a good way to kind of explain what I felt was happening to me when I just felt like I was in my emotional 15-year-old mind, even younger at times. I went back to some older memories, and then I went even farther into some young adult memories too. It was really interesting. Then what ends up happening is that this kind of starts running on a pattern. Things that we have been, ways that we've been imprinted, we just automatically deal with these things in a certain way, and it becomes a pattern. And then we might call it anxiety or depression. But what if we released these stored imprints when we're triggered? And I'm not trying to simplify it. I know that there's a lot involved here, but I know for me that releasing has been key. When these things come up, that is what they're asking for. They just want, I've probably already said it in this video, they just want acceptance and they want release. But what happens is that we feel the emotion and then we start acting out of fear. It's like we instinctually become afraid of the feeling and we act out of fear and we try to shut it down. And listening to Eckhart and reading Michael Singer's book and finding Abraham Hicks, all of these teachers, finding this information has been a godsend to me because it's showing me how to do these things. It's giving me the tools to know how to accept and allow. And sometimes I still pinch myself off. Sometimes I'm still closing. That's natural. But the important thing is that we just keep trying to stay open all the time, open to love and open to receiving love and giving love. So I mentioned earlier that I was going to share some signs, some things that happened to me, specifically that I knew I was really on this fast track to growth and expansion. So what did I experience? Well, meditation. I had always kind of, well, I shouldn't say I've been interested in it. Actually, I was always, I was taught that meditation was not something I should do in the religion I was raised in. We were taught as, I was raised a Jehovah's Witness, and we were taught that meditation could leave our mind open to like dark energies. So there was that subconscious fear that I brought to the table with that, and it wasn't something I was open or interested in. But my thinking has completely changed on that, and I immediately, well, I didn't get right into it. It took me some time before I was ready to actually meditate, but I knew that that was the key. Because it kept coming up again. My intuition kept telling me, you need to meditate, and I kept saying, I'm not ready, but you need to meditate. And so finally I did, and it's been transformational. It's been amazing. And like I said, that's something that it seems like it took a while because it did take some months for me to finally do it. A few months, but compared to the years that have gone by where I've never had an interest in it, it seemed like it happened like that. Yoga. I'm taking a yoga class at a studio, and that might not seem like a big deal to some people, but for me, I have suffered off and on with social anxiety, so just going anywhere, even to a restaurant sometimes, it wasn't severe. It's not like I didn't go out of the house. I do love going out and having fun, but there would be times where walking into a room of new people could be very intimidating, and it would be something I would avoid doing. Even if it was something I was interested in doing, like an exercise class, I would just never consider doing it. And it was something that once this came up, it was again intuitive. I just said, oh, that's what I want to do, and I did it. It was instant. Reading, watching things on YouTube, being open in general. Again, this goes hand in hand with what I'm already saying, but information, books I would have come across in the past, or videos that might have popped up in my feed. Well, they wouldn't have popped up in my feed prior, but now when they do, I'm open to almost anything I see. Or I'm curious to everything, really, and I'm definitely open to ideas about reincarnation and just spirituality and the soul, and just so many topics that prior, if I had seen some of the titles, I wouldn't have even been open to finding out information about some of these things. And again, that was instant, and it was like I could not get enough of this information. It was like one thing would lead me to something else and something else and something else, and then it's just like, whoo, it feels so awesome and expansive. Unconditional love. So I'm understanding what it really means emotionally and spiritually to love unconditionally. I thought I understood it. I did logically, obviously understand it, but really understanding this concept and connecting with it, it's changing me and it's changing my relationships with other people. And I hope to do a video on that in the future to go into that in more depth into that. I'm making these videos right now. That's a fast track because I don't know. It's like I don't know if I was ever going to do a video. I did have an interest after I started publishing to make videos to share my writing. And so the interest was there, the desire was there, but I honestly couldn't really see myself fully doing it, or I wasn't doing it. And it was shortly after I met this person that I made my very first video, sharing an excerpt from one of my books, and it felt amazing. Again, it was like a connection to me, a connection to source energy. It just felt like, oh my gosh, why have I waited so long to do this? But there was just so many things happening within, I don't know, a month's time that were just, all of these things I'm telling you were happening within like a month or two of time. So it just was like, oh my gosh, it was really exciting. And I just, really quick, I want to clear up a misconception, because you may have heard this. You might be able to apply it to something in your life. This growth, this openness, this expansion, it is not because of this energetic connection. It isn't because of her, but it is. Like I said, always a contradiction, right? So what do I mean? Well, a lot of things are like this in this experience. I don't do something for her or because of her, and that's not even possible in this experience. This whole experience is teaching me the opposite. It's showing me how to find my power and my bliss. But because this energetic connection is like a mirror, she's showing me things that I might have been blind to previously. Or she's lighting up what's already within me. That's actually a better way to put it. So I'm not doing anything that's not already within my power to do. It's more like I'm seeing my own abilities in the mirror. I'm seeing my own abilities, and my confidence is just growing and lighting up in ways that it never did before, or ways that I wasn't allowing it to before. So it's her and it's me. It's coming from what's already within me, but there's this, what some people refer to as this blueprint of energy that someone has. And sometimes it's what I refer to as like that circuit board of energy that we have that just lights up. And when these two souls meet each other, it's like their blueprints are meeting. And so the inspiring action that follows that meeting is an incredible, intense, consuming, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. It's a fast track to awakening, or the awareness of it. Because never again can you, after meeting this mirror, turn your back on yourself, ignore your intuition, deny what you know to be truth, close yourself to connection, block love, or run away from yourself or others. Never again. This connection won't let you. But guess what? This connection is you. Oh, sounds complicated, but it's really not. Everything's really simple with our spiritual awakening. The soul decides that it's going to take a quicker route to get this person to awaken. The soul has tried in the past, like it did with me at 15 and in 2014 and probably some other times in my life. It's tried to say, hey, Amber, you need to pay attention. You need to make some changes. You need to grow and expand. And I did at certain points. There's things I always learned, lessons I learned, epiphanies, and there was always growth. But then I kind of just went back to my ways, and I didn't really fully embrace this and fully release, and then want to just be able to share and help other people. So now, you know, my soul made sure that it got my attention, that it woke me up. It wanted me to be sure I knew that I'm not my story, that I'm not my thoughts. It wanted me to lose identification with ego, to love unconditionally, to keep letting go and releasing the fear, to embrace the love, the unconditional love. I woke up, and I'm forever grateful. So what is your depression telling you? You don't have to be having a twin flame experience or a near-death experience to find self in yourself. You can become aware now. You are aware because you're watching this video. You're the knower. You're aware already. So be the observer. Imagine that the thoughts that are coming in, imagine it's like you're watching them in a movie theater. You're not the thought. You're the awareness behind it. Eckhart says this a lot. And remember, you're not lost. Everything you need is within you. So what do you think? Do you think that maybe your soul is nudging you to awaken? Is depression really a gift you've been given to try to change something? Follow your intuition and find out. And remember, perfect is just you doing you. I'm gonna make a video on that too. So there you have it. That's my good stuff in a nutshell. I tried to keep it brief. I know this one got a little long. There's so much to say on this topic, and if there's anything that you want me to address or give a little bit more information about, please let me know in the comments. And then don't forget to check out the other links below. Thank you so much for watching this 3-part series. It's been like a coming out for me, and I thank you so much for allowing me to speak my truth. And I hope that it encourages you to speak yours.